Hello library friends, and welcome to our first episode of Paper Cuts, where I'm going to be showing you how to make a very simple origami model with paper you have lying around the house, and it's going to be a paper crane. This is a pretty simple model. It's a pretty classic one. If you know any origami, you probably know how to make a crane. We're going to start with that because it's a pretty basic one. But you can't just use any paper when you're doing origami. You have to have special origami paper. Now you can go out and buy some. It's available at most craft stores. You can sometimes find it at some supermarkets. It's a pretty common, pretty cheap thing, but sometimes you want to do some origami and you don't have any origami. And you know, these days you don't really want to go to the store for just anything. So we're going to show you how to make your own origami paper for each of the models we're going to show you. So today for our crane, we are going to make appropriately sized origami paper out of paper probably everyone has in their house, and that's just a sheet of regular old printing paper. So like I said, you can use just about any paper you want to make origami, but if you're going to use something like printer paper, there's a couple of things you have to do to it to make it work. Also, the thicker your paper is, the harder it's going to be to fold the more complicated models, because the more you fold paper, the stiffer it gets. So if you start off with a pretty thick paper, you're only going to be able to make so many folds before you just can't fold it anymore. So this is just standard computer printing paper, and I've got a little piece of origami paper I bought from the store, and I'm going to put it down. Now it's a much smaller. You can buy origami paper in all sizes. Usually it comes in a sheet a little bit bigger than this, but what do you notice about this paper and then this paper? Besides the size difference, you may notice that origami paper, it's got a color on one side, it's white on the other side, but it's also a square. And origami is a great way to talk about different shapes because you end up making a lot of very interesting shapes. But this is a square, and this paper is a rectangle. So first thing we have to do is we have to make this paper a square, because most of the time origami requires you have a square. Not always, but most of the time. So to get a square, I could get out a ruler or a tape measure, and I could measure, let's say, 6 inches here, 6 inches there, measure it all out, and then I'd have a square. But I'm going to show you a quicker way to do it. It's not quite as accurate, but it works. So I'm going to take the short end, I'm going to come down to one side, and then I'm going to fold the short end over and up the long end, and I'm going to try to be as precise as possible to line up these two edges, and then I'm going to fold it into a triangle. Precision is great with origami, and the more you do it, the more precise you'll be. So now I have this triangle, and I've got this little rectangle over here. And what I've basically done is I've measured how much longer the long side is than the short side, so I know I need to cut off this much to make all the sides the same. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go snip, 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 and I'm going to do it a little quick. I'm probably not going to have the most precise cut, but then you're going to have a square. Ta-da! But now you also have just plain white paper. So now you get to decorate your paper, and you can use markers, you can use crayons, you can use anything you want. I'm just going to use some markers. I'm going to do a really simple design of stripes. So I'm going to take the paper I just cut off, actually, and I'm going to use it to help me make some stripes. Just going to do a lot of different colors, and you can take as much or as little time in decorating that you want. You don't have to decorate. But once you're done decorating, we can start folding. Now that you have decorated your lovely origami paper, it is time to begin folding. And today we're going to be making, like I mentioned, a paper crane it's pretty simple. It's a good place to start, but it's not too basic. So we're going to start with our colored or our designed up. We want that to be facing out so our crane can have a lot of color. And the first fold we're going to do, we've actually already made. We made it when we wanted to cut our paper. So I'm going to fold it back along that line. And it just makes it into a nice big triangle. Now I'm going to take the corner and I'm going to make a smaller triangle. I'm going to fold and make sure that my corners match up. I'm going to hold those corners, and then to help me fold this, I'm going to run my finger to the corner, and that just helps shape the paper so it's easier to fold and you don't get creases. I'm going to run my finger down, crease that. Now as you can see, my fold there is not super precise, and what happens when you cut your paper like this, it's not always perfectly square, but it's pretty good. Alright, so we've got a triangle. I'm going to turn it on its side here. I'm going to open it up and make a kind of sail. With this, I'm going to open up the sail. I'm going to stick my finger in to this corner here, and then I'm going to fold down. I'm going to line up all of my corners here, these corners with this corner. So I want to try to line everything up as nicely as possible. And then when I've got my corners lined up, I'm going to run my finger up this middle line right here. And then I'm going to flatten out my sides, get a good crease in those, and then I'll turn it over and I'll do it again. But to make it easier to fold, I'm going to fold my little sail over, crease it a bit, stand it back up. I'm going to do the same thing, take my finger, stick it in, open this up. And some of the things I have to do, or I'm doing because this is a bigger sheet of paper, it's a little thicker, you kind of have to be a little more gentle with it. You have to sort of persuade your paper to do what you want it to do, if that makes sense. So I'm going to fold this corner down to meet all my other corners. I'm going to run my finger up, and then I'm going to flatten out the sides. Now we have a diamond, or a square, but we're going to hold it like a diamond. And our diamond has an open end, and it's got a closed end. So the closed end, we're going to keep that up here, it's our top. The open end is our bottom. That's very important. So with our diamond, we're going to find the midline here, and then I'm going to fold our corners in to the midline. So I'm going to fold this side all the way in. I'm going to line up the edge with the middle. And when I have that lined up, I'm going to squish the bottom. I'm going to hold, and then I will flatten. Make a good crease, and you're going to do it on the other side. So take your corner, fold it in. You're going to line up the edge with the midline. I'm going to crease it at the bottom first, and then I'm going to make that crease. Now you flip it over. Remember, your open end has to be facing down. You want it to be the pointy end when you get done. So again, same thing, fold to the midline, crush, 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 crease, crease, crease. And I know there are more technical terms that I could be using. A lot of folds have different names, but I sometimes find that's a little confusing, so we're just going to stick to very basic terms. Okay. Now that you've just folded this, you're going to unfold it. Open it up. Oh, wait, we're going to do one more thing first. We're going to do a fold that's going to make everything easier for us. We're going to fold the top of our little kite down at this line. We're going to fold that down and make a crease. We're going to turn it over, fold it the other way, make a crease, stand it back up, and then we're going to unfold what we just did. So open this up, grab the tip, and you're going to bring it up. And you may need to hold right here while you start to bring this flap up. You're going to open it up and then we're going to start to fold it down. So this is difficult because, watch, if I just pull this all the way up, see what it's kind of doing at the end? It's crinkled, that's not what I want it to look like. So I'm going to have to sort of adjust these folds by putting my finger in and popping the paper out. So it's not folding in, it's folding out. And then I can pull it together and I can start creasing. I'll try to show you a little bit better on the other side what I was doing. We're going to open up. We're going to pull this up. See? So since this is not opening smoothly, I'm going to hold my finger right here. I'm going to put my hand inside and I'm going to raise this up. I'm going to tell this paper, no, you need to bend the other way. And you just want to kind of work gently with your paper. You may need to stick your finger in corners and kind of ease it up. That is the problem with printer paper, is it can be kind of stiff. So now I'm going to pull the sides in. Oh, I got a crinkle here. I'm just going to straighten that out. Smooth it. And then I can start to fold it. Oh no. Another crease. Another little crinkle. I'm going to stick my thumb in, I'm going to pop that out. There we go. Now I'm going to smooth it down. One more at the end. And this does take work. You kind of have to do it over and over again to kind of figure out how to do it. But now we have two legs, and we've got this section right here, which is a wing. So now we're going to do kind of what we did before. We're going to fold our edge into the midline. So fold it in, fold it in, fold it in, and then we're going to crease it. I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side. Fold it in, and make a good crease. We're going to flip it over and we're going to do the exact same thing. Fold the edge into the midline, and make sure you are doing this on the bottom where we've got the little legs, because what we're going to do is probably the hardest part. We're going to turn it up. We're going to open up the face, and then we're going to fold up our leg, which is not a leg, it's actually a tail. So I'm going to fold it up like this, and then I'm going to pull it out a little and squeeze so it stays in shape. Now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Open up like this, then you're going to fold up, you're going to start to close, and then you're going to pull this out so you get the angle you want. And now this is what we have. And the last little bit, I'm going to fold this down. I'm going to stick a finger in and give it a crease. So you just push it in, squeeze it, and then you have a beak. And the best part, the end, get to open your crane up. And now you have made a paper crane. Alright guys, thank you so much for joining us today for Paper Cuts. This was our first session. We're going to have some more origami things you can do throughout the week or the month with just, paper you find lying around the house. Try doing your origami with printer paper and then try it with some actual origami paper and see if it makes it easier, if you prefer the thicker paper. And when you fold something, leave it in the comments down below. Show us a picture. I'd love to know what your cranes look like.